Okay, we're back.
Episode number 7.
The big one. Well, I don't know. The big one. It's the momentous one. People often don't get this far. So today's Guitargument, Matthew, is...
Can you ever have too many guitars?
Can you have too many guitars? I can't believe we're going to even discuss this. One of us is going to argue that you can have too many, and the other will be that you can't have too many. It would be impossible. What do you...
Someone might be driven out as a heretic by the end of this.
Okay. I don't know that I can do this without some, real emotional fallout from it, but we'll see. Okay, so the Guitargument, and then of course the accompanying cool down, where we talk about this in reasoned fashion, without the passion.
Right.
And then we're going to start out with the ThroBak Mailbox here, and you've got, Matthew's got a radio ad, but we'll go through quickly here. Tools, tips, Guitargument, cool down, Matthew's musical musings. You've got a sort of book review.
I've got a little book review and one little piece of news. We'll do that.
Okay. I don't know what you just mentioned this book today. I'm not even sure. I'm going to learn something right here on the spot, like with all of our viewers. The guitar regrets this week is Matthew's. And Matthew, you told me to call it the Fender failure.
Yeah.
And am I correct that the Fender failure means you failed to buy the perfect Fender and instead bought something else?
Yeah, that's right.
And this is long, long ago. How many years?
It's either 81 or 82, I think.
And it still hurts to think about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've tried to drive it out of my mind, but it's still haunted by it.
That's a tough one. We're going to find out about that.
Right,
okay.
Back to the beginning.
All right, Matthew. We last few episodes you've been doing your thing as a former marketing person, again among Matthew's many talents, not only a member of the Michigan Bar, but I originally met Matthew at a photo shoot where he was working for a marketing company, mm-hmm. and at the time I was a commercial photographer, and we chatted, and we both had guitar sort of enthusiasm as part of our fun things to do. And
well, I always ask. I saw a guitar on the wall, and then I think I asked my question that I'll ask people. I'll say, "Oh, how many guitars do you have?"
Did you ask me that?
I probably did.
Yeah, you probably did.
And then if they can't answer that question, I know, okay, they have a lot of guitars.
Well, the guitar on the wall would have been a 1964 J50.
Yeah,
because I used to have it on the wall over there on a hook, because where ThroBak is now was once a commercial photography studio. This seems random, but maybe I've talked about it before, but enjoyed that. But this became the business. ThroBak did.
Well, ThroBak people
20 years ago almost
may have seen your work before ThroBak.
That's right. If you've purchased a Bissell vacuum cleaner, carpet cleaner, the packages on the box photographs would have been taken by me for a long period of time. Maybe they may still be using some of them. I don't know, but probably not. They probably updated models since then. And if you purchased a Kawasaki lawnmower motor from an industrial catalog, I took those pictures too.
Oh, I remember those. Those were great.
Yeah, those are great. Among a variety of other inspiring objects, vacuums were the most inspiring. I did take some pictures for Heritage Guitar as part of a I got the KZ1, not the KZ1-5, the Slug 101 winder as part of a trade with them for photography.
Right.
And you went with me to the Kalamazoo factory to pick that up.
I was thinking about that today because it was summer, wasn't it? We went.
Yeah.
And do you remember what year that was?
It was a long time ago.
Do you think it was it before, say, 2007 or 8?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I think so. It may right around then, maybe. It's been a long time, but the
I don't know if you can nail down the when the date was.
Yeah, we rented a sort of a tall van to put that in.
Yeah.
And did you hear them say what they said when? Well, they told me. Were you present when they said you wouldn't believe how close we were to throwing this away?
I don't know if I was there for that. I know you said that.
I think they said that to me, like as I was shutting the doors on it. You were already in the truck or in the van, but okay. I got sidetracked there, Matthew. So again, Matthew's marketing expertise. He is going to do an old-fashioned. He feels we must do old-fashioned radio ads.
Well, I want to tell people that we do enjoy talking about all things guitars, but we also make and sell.
That's right.
Vintage reproduction pickups. That's what.
Yes,
that makes this all possible.
And we appreciate people viewing this and supporting the channel by watching, and also those that support the company by buying our wonderful guitar pickups known the world over, as you will outline in this guitar ad. Okay, I'm ready. I haven't heard it again.
This one is called, it's a variation, but it's called The Devil's in the Details. Okay, see if we can do this. You can't fake feel. You can't automate mojo. And you sure can't mass produce vintage tone. At ThroBak, we don't build by the thousands. We build by the one pickup at a time, with eyes on every coil and ears on every wind. No conveyor belts, no shortcuts, no close enough. While other brands scale up, we zoom in, replicating every tiny speck from original Kalamazoo era PAFs using vintage winding machines, period correct materials, and a level of care you just don't get at scale. Because tone lives in the details, and details are what we do best. ThroBak pickups, wound to be heard, built to be legendary. Discover real vintage tone at throwback.com.
Wow. Even proximity voice into the microphone. Wow. You're doing well there, Matthew.
I enjoyed those. They're fun.
No, the last one was aided by AI. Now, I must ask, was this a total Matthew creation?
This was a partial. This was I'd say this was 80% AI.
Oh my.
And then
it's doing well, I think.
It does do a pretty good job. And then I tweaked it. But the first one, I think the first one's pretty good too. But and then I just had to maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 edits.
Okay.
So
we just again blew up the whole bubble there. By what you this just shows that we're using efficiency where it makes sense in order to focus the details on where it matters most.
So we can spend more time.
We can spend
building these things,
making these wonderful podcasts, growing our audience.
And it takes time to make this stuff.
Sure, I feel I've now convinced myself that was the best idea. Okay, so we're going to go to the ThroBak Mailbox. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, so last week ThroBak Mailbox was we had someone who emailed with what they hoped was a ThroBak PAF reproduction, patent applied for, vintage classic recreation that we make and are known the world over for. He was hoping that he had one, and in that I explained that if we get an email like this, first thing we say, if it's a ThroBak pickup, it has to say ThroBak on it, right? No sooner, I hadn't even posted the video for this. Posted the video last week for last week's podcast on Saturday, and Friday I got an email with the exact same question. Now this was not someone who purchased pickups under the false impression that they were ThroBaks. This is a person who purchased a guitar and saw pickups in the guitar that he thought looked similar to ThroBaks and felt compelled to ask us if they were ThroBak pickups. So I will read the email. Dear ThroBak team, actually this is Saturday, the 14th. This is right before I posted the video. It says 12:16 a.m.
So it's early in the morning.
Okay. I hope this message finds you well. I recently purchased a used Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul 2014 R9 that came equipped with a set of humbuckers that closely resembles your ThroBak SLE 101 series pickups in both construction and appearance. However, I noticed that neither pickup has a ThroBak sticker on the base plate, which raises a question regarding authenticity. So I don't think that these were presented to him as ThroBak pickups, but he saw pickups and he saw, oh, these look to him like ThroBak pickups. And therefore, you know, he should emailed me to make sure maybe he got a bonus with his R9. So here's a photo here of this is the one of the pickups. He thought both of these potentially could have been ThroBak pickups. What's odd about this is these appear to be gold pickups.
Was that gold?
Yeah, I think they're kind of worn, and it's on an R9, so it wouldn't typically have gold. Wouldn't have gold pickups, but okay. So first off, I can tell. Probably you can, Matthew, too. These are not ThroBak pickups because they do not have the TV edge shape appearance, subtle TV edge of a PAF pickup, which is how ours are made. With our own dies, made for us, exclusively for us, and we sell them too as an accessory, but these don't have that look. These have the look of a Gibson cover, current production Gibson cover. Fine, totally fine, no problem with them, other than, well, they're actually a little thicker than our covers, but they do not have that same PAF accurate look as ours. So this is the back of it. Okay. This is the back of it. Again, you can see it's gold pull screw, strangely. Mm-hmm. All right. The first thing here is, this is the bridge pickup, obviously. It says bridge. It doesn't say ThroBak. No. So if it's ours, it's going to say ThroBak. And I just grabbed one today, took a quick picture with my iPhone. This is a ThroBak pickup. That's what it'll have, that sticker on it.
And then handwritten
model number. With a little paint pen and the little tiny box that I got to do in it. So if it doesn't have the sticker, we don't ever make them like this with a fake PAF decal. Never. Okay? We have multiple requests to do it. I don't do it. Now, I can see other subtleties in the base plate that indicates this is... See, we have the little L tool marks on ours. This one does not. On the legs. Multiple other differences, but... You know, you get the idea. So that just, I want to reiterate that if you have a pickup that you think might be ThroBak, it's got to start with the sticker. Now there are a couple of instances we found where people made fake stickers, but you know, at least start with that. Our thinking is, too, that anyone that has one of these to sell, they don't want to peel the sticker off, because if they want to resell it, they want people to know it's a ThroBak.
Yeah.
Right? And on the used market, they do retain their value fairly well. I think actually quite well. But, again, it's got to say ThroBak. But I think this guy was just hoping that he maybe got a bonus with his R9, and he saw... something that I'm not sure what, but he saw something that made him think maybe those were ThroBak pickups. They're not. It's got to have the sticker. Okay, I have reiterated the point of authenticity there, that the sticker's important. But the other thing is too, if someone was an original purchaser of ThroBak pickups, they come with a box with a sticker saying the model number, come with a foam insert to protect them in shipping, and they come with an authenticity card that has an acetate sleeve over it that has the date, the model number, the wire lots, the machines they were wound on, and it's just the right size to keep in the case, accessory pouch of your guitar.
And your signature, I think.
And my signature and a date. So anyway, ideally you'd have all of those. And I mean, I anticipated from the get-go that people are going to, the very expensive reproduction, a very well-made reproduction, but people are going to want to have a way to authenticate these over time. If they get traded, if they sell the guitar. So keep that if you buy from us. From the beginning, we've had that. Okay. On to the tools and tips, Matthew.
Tools.
So this week's tools and tips, this is a more expensive tool that I'm going to suggest people get. It's a bit more advanced. If if people out there are at all interested in doing their own guitar setup and repair, one of the first sort of basic tasks that people can do that would require some skill in sort of fabricating would be to create a replacement nut. And the essential part of creating a nut for your guitar is filing the slots accurately with a rounded bottom. And a previous episode, I suggested the people start with a Grobet 4.5-inch rat tail file that's extremely fine that helps to finish these slots, because many nut files produce a V-shaped bottom to the slot. But this is what I'm going to suggest people get here is the Hosco, and I'll put a link in the description. It's Hosco brand nut file set. Now, mine has 10 here. You looked this up, Matthew. These now currently come with 11 sizes.
Yeah, when we looked on...
So I got these years ago, and this says 10. But this comes with... And when you think about the price, these are around, I think the whole set is around $100 or a little under. Mm-hmm. So you're paying less than $10 for a Precision. This is a .046 file. Precision file. These are Japanese made. I think these are kind of universally accepted as kind of top of the line for a lot of luthiers and techs, because you get the full range of sizes in here to do an acoustic or electric, with a few exceptions. Like I think it's got a .016 file here, and if so. I have some strings that maybe might be .017. You just rock it a little bit when you're cutting the slot for it. Does fine. But these are flat and have a rounded cutting edge. So you do not have the problem of that V-shaped slot like you might have with a set of files that are not gauged to these specific sizes so much as being a flat file that has two cutting edges that are both rounded. You have these sort of workaround files that have create a V slot, and you can maybe get away with three of those that have two on each edge, but they're not going to have that accurate round bottom slot that they create as you will get with these. I've got 6 here. I think I may have lost one. Well, I think I may have taken out. They may be at home. I think I took out a couple of sizes that I typically would use for acoustic that are a little larger, and didn't want to mix them up because I have these here for really exclusively for electrics. In fact, I slotted Tuesday. I use these. So the Hosco. No, it's model number TLNF11 is what yours is. I'll put a link again. Again, these are gauged to specific sizes and produce a accurate sized slot that was straight sides and a rounded bottom. And the way I use these also too is I use the rat tail file to start just the edge of it, so I'm sure that the strings are spaced evenly. You want to have slots that are have even gaps between the strings, is how I like to do it. Most people do. And then use your little rat tail file to just start a slot. If you need to adjust it one way or the other, you can do that easily with the little fine rat tail file, and then you can start cutting them to the intended depth with these. And if it's a Gibson nut, you can finish them off to a more highly polished edge with that rat tail file. But with a Fender slot, I just use that straight. Anyway, that is my tool tip for the day.
Very good.
All right. Again, Hosco is a Japanese manufacturer that's made these tools forever. I mean, this is a brand that's been around for quite a while. And when I clued it in about them, they were kind of hard to find, but guitar repair, guitar maker guys have been aware of them forever, and that's a go-to brand for accurate, high-quality luthier tools. Okay, Matthew, we're going to go on to the Guitargument.
What everyone's been waiting for.
The Guitargument is too many guitars. Can you have too many guitars?
And I'm taking the position, absolutely not. You can never have too many.
You're saying it's impossible.
Virtually.
There's room there.
Well, I would say absolutely no.
And I'm going to say, now for this, again, for the purposes of the argument, I'm going to say, yes, you can have too many. It's real clear that you can have too many. How would you not know that?
Where's our timer? We need to put the 5-minute timer on.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, I think it's over there. Do you want? Is it too far away?
Oh, it's too far away. We've got a countdown timer here.
Okay, well,
so we'll use that. I'm going to wait till it gets to 0 here, and we'll add, and I'll make a beeping noise.
Okay. And then
okay, got a few seconds to go here. In anticipation of this, we'll put our mind in the space it needs to be, and now 1, 2, 1, beep.
Okay, off. Okay, I'll take the first go at it. Okay, you can never have too many guitars. And the reasons are varied and many. But the biggest
I feel like
one,
I've heard that before.
The biggest one is for tone. I mean, at the very minimum, you need to have an ash guitar, an alder guitar, a mahogany guitar, maybe even a poplar guitar now. They seem to be popular. And then all the variations you could possibly have for fretboards, a maple fretboard, rosewood fretboard, an ebony fretboard. And then you need a slab rosewood, and then you need a veneer rosewood.
It's getting sicker all the time, isn't it?
And then all the variations of pickups, and then all the variations for tunings. And what those provide is they provide for inspiration and creativity and
self-aggrandizement.
And you think, oh, wait a minute, I know what would be perfect for this little piece here. And you open up the case, and there's the guitar. Maybe it hasn't seen the light of day for a while, but it's like a tool. It's like when you need it, it's there. And then not even getting into the whole idea of all the different tunings you could possibly have. And who wants to, restring guitars?
The world of possibilities.
So, and then on the other side of that, you've got investment possibilities.
Oh boy.
You got to look at these things as you get them on the cheap when the market goes down, the market goes up. You can look at them as your children's inheritance.
Oh my.
This is what you're getting, kids.
Your kids love you, don't they? Okay.
The only problem with that is if you're gone, they better know what those things are worth.
Yeah. Okay, so I think for the purposes of this argument, having too many guitars is a travesty. It's a way for people to have a relationship with an object at the expense of a personal relationship with those that are in the rest of the human race. This object it takes priority over real relationships. And if you have too many of them, now you can love guitars. You can have a deep, meaningful sort of bond with them. But as the more you purchase, the less meaning there is within these relationships that you have with, and it just becomes so much noise that all it does is amplifies someone's fantasy as to what the importance is of the guitar to them in just strictly material terms, and it takes away the musicality portion of it, because the idea of the guitar is that it will be played. Can we agree on that?
Are you saying that if you have too many guitars that you become sort of heartless and like Scrooge? You drift further away from the thing that made you want the guitar to begin with, was the creation of music. And now it becomes less about music, and it becomes more about acquisition and admiration of an object rather than
the actual creation of music, which is what it's really all about, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think if you had multiple and kept on getting different guitars, you'd be thinking, oh, I mean, have you ever heard the idea of in every guitar there's at least one song?
Well,
so it's going to inspire you to
but these
play
guitars,
differently, write something.
Now the question is, can you have too many guitars? And the too many guitars is when music it becomes less about the guitar, and the guitar becomes more about itself as an object. And having too many guitars is the proof of this. If you can't play, let's say you like to play the guitar every day, and you can't play each guitar every day, you by definition have too many guitars because they can't all be played on the same day. You physically couldn't do it.
Well, it's like sort of saying to a carpenter, well, if you're not using that tool, you should get rid of it because you have too many tools.
You can't make a song with a hammer now, can you?
Well, John Henry could.
I guess he was a steel driving man, wasn't he? So I think too the material acquisition of this object is it becomes about more fantasy fulfillment rather than music creation. So the fantasy, of course, is short-lived, and it can only be rejuvenated by the purchase of another guitar. It could grow with the increasing skill and practice and time devoted to the creation of music. But for many that when guitar becomes too many guitars is when that focus now goes away from the music and it goes to the object itself and just the admiration of the object, divorced from the actual music creation, which is what it's all about.
I would look at the guitar and the acquisition of the guitar as like it's like a new child. You don't have any favorite children.
Okay.
So you love them all equally, and you welcome them all and say, "Oh, you're bringing something new to the world."
Beep. We went 1 minute over.
We did.
That was 6 minutes, but maybe it deserved that. Okay, Matthew. So again, we were playing a role there.
Right.
We're going to go on to the
cool down.
The cool down now. Do you in real life? What is your thought about this?
Have to come clean.
I would think that in real life, you're more along the lines of you can have too many guitars in your possession, but you can never have owned too many guitars. Because you've owned a lot of guitars over the years.
I've owned a lot of guitars. I don't have as many as I've owned, but I just
because you often sell them.
I have. I've flipped them.
No, but you've
for various reasons.
But you say flipping implies profit.
Okay, I flipped them and then just reinvested it back into.
Oh, I see.
And that's probably
you considered a rental fee.
That's what I looked at it sometimes. Okay. Oh, maybe I bought that guitar for
whatever money you might have lost, you will chalk up to that. I received that much enjoyment out of this while I owned it.
And that cost me like most of the stuff. I don't think a few things I've made money on, but most of it's you even or a little under. And then you look at it and say, well, that cost me $30 a year rent on that item. But I don't begrudge anybody having guitars. I'm always interested in them, and we've said the same thing. But I always like the idea of a case, especially a hard shell case. Is like when you open it up, it's like sometimes you forget like what is in that. And you open it, and it's sort of like it's like Christmas again.
Yeah, no,
you get to rediscover.
So I rarely sell guitars, and again, the first one I purchased was probably 15.
Okay.
And I still have that one. And I probably, I think every guitar I've sold, I've probably sold to you, with the exception of maybe one or two. And and you haven't bought that many from me.
I was going through the number that I did buy, but a few.
Yeah, so
5 maybe.
I have a healthy maybe unhealthy number of guitars, but I have a lot. But my feeling about this is that
They're for research and development now.
well, they actually, yes, they are.
They are.
I mean, as an example, I have 3 of the broadcaster reissues, 70th anniversary broadcast reissues that are all almost identical weights because I wanted to test the pickups in 3 guitars with as close to the same specs as I could get them. Right. I mean,
well, that's a real problem because we ran through that. As soon as you get one guitar, it's like, well, you're testing it in a guitar that isn't the same material or it's not the same fretboard.
Yeah.
So with that guitar, it just come out.
So it's there's a practical aspect of it for making pickups, and I've got some sort of similar situation with Strats as far as like I bought some. I have some custom shop ones, but I also have some well-made Mexican ones that I, similar specs, can swap the pickups out. How you've got a fairly good idea how they're responding in all 3 guitars that way. But I do like guitars, and my theory about this is, and I have more than I could ever play in one day. Sure, right? It'd be crazy if I tried to do that. I wouldn't sleep. But
that would probably be a viral YouTube video.
I guess it could be, yeah. But I'm several. It is a real that many people think that this is just gluttony if you're doing this, and you're not practicing. You're just hoarding, right? But my feeling about it is that the positives of this are you could spend yourself on money. You could spend the same money on things that wouldn't be tangible that might bring you as much, or might not even bring you as much enjoyment, and you'd have nothing at the end of the day to show for it. Well, with the guitar, you've got the guitar, right? And if you buy it well, it is a reasonable store of value, assuming that people want to still play them at some point, Not really. If it's an investment, you're kind of lucking out on that one. But from a practical standpoint, I think of it this way: the more guitars you have, the less fret wear.
Exactly.
Right.
They'll say, "Oh, there's no fret wear."
Yeah. You're spreading the fret wear out over multiple guitars if you're playing them. All of them, and if you play regularly, you're devaluing them proportionally less through playtime, right?
Well, do you question people how many
telling yourself that,
how many
John.
pairs of socks they have in their drawer?
That's right. That's it. That's right. They're just like socks, right?
Well, I look at it too. If it is a vice, it's a pretty good vice to have.
It's pretty good. Yeah. And you could just, as I said, you could spend the money on a lot worse things. Okay, so do you have now? There would be the argument too that again, I mentioned it before. If you're serious about playing, you want to have a Les Paul of some form.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a 335 of some form. You want to have a Telecaster, and you want to have a Strat. So there's 4 there, right? And then you might want to have a P90 set hollow body. Like, so there's your ES330, let's say. You may want a P90 Les Paul, so you've got a junior or special, right? And then let's say you want a Telecaster that has a humbucker in the neck position. Classic setup. The macabre Keith Richards thing. There you got another guitar, right? And then you maybe want a super Strat sort of thing with a humbucker in the bridge. Well, then that's your argument for what? You doubled everything right now. You got 8 guitars, 8 electrics, right? If you want acoustics, you got to have a Gibson. You got to have Martin, right? Mm-hmm. You got to have a slope shoulder Gibson acoustic, right? You got to have a Dreadnought. But why wouldn't you want a smaller bodied like something or other? or Martin, right? I'm making sense here, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it'd be crazy talk to be anything else, right? And then you want to have, maybe you want a jumbo or small, but let's say you want a B25 small body Gibson. You got to have that. That's 4 more guitars. Now let's say let's say this is how you think about it, right? This is how it happens. And you think like, oh, I got that J45. It sounds great. I want another one because what if something happened to that one? Or this one sounds so good and guitars are so variable. There must be one out there that sounds better. If I liked this, I will love the better one, right? So then you get another one, and then maybe it's nice in a different way, and then you look for another one, and then you get 3 of them.
Maybe.
And then you think like, oh, it's like 10 years later, and it's like, wow, these things actually increase in value. That was a great idea. There's another one that's a good deal.
Maybe this is a discussion for another day. But
am I sweating yet?
Not yet. Maybe this is a discussion for another day. But maybe we could have a discussion on like a desert island guitar.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah.
If it came down to say 1 electric, 1 acoustic.
That's true though. I think that well,
we've got power on this island, I guess.
I think that even if you've got a lot of guitars, I think you do go through phases with these things.
That's true.
Like you're like, oh, I really like this. I really like the sound of this Strat or this Les Paul. And then you kind of like realize if you're playing frequently, you realize it's a changing how you play. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of, if you hadn't been playing that style of guitar for a while, you kind of rediscover what you liked about it. And then after a while, maybe that's enough of that, and you go on to a different sort of type of guitar that you might have multiple ones of. And then, now you mentioned this, the whole case thing. Like, so let's say 2 guitars would be, I can't remember what's in that case. Right? Mm-hmm. That's too many guitars. If you can't even remember what's in the case, isn't that too many guitars? No. That's you've now reached a sort of level of guitar nirvana. Because now when you open the case, it's a beautiful experience, right? You're like, you've transcended the case. The case no longer is the thing that encases guitar A, B, or C. It is now a portal into a whole new realm. You open it and there it is. It's that guitar you forgot you had. And you're like, oh, yeah, that one.
That is a good feeling.
Yeah. Now what's the, so I think you couldn't, well, if you had nowhere to put them anymore, the too many is if you had nowhere to put them anymore. And if the ones that you had were getting neglected to the point where they were actually like devaluing through poor methods of storage.
Yeah.
You know, if you're running it for the next guy, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Then you need to unload them.
You wonder what some of these
or gal.
Some of these people who've got guitars that are maybe they're in the basement, they maybe shouldn't be down there.
Yeah.
Or they're near outside walls or in houses that aren't air conditioned and things. So
yeah,
depending where you're living.
I'm still going through this phase of buying these 85 through 87 to 88 Stratocasters. I figure that it's got to be at least half that are going to smell mildewy to some degree. I figured out how to address it, but then that's a case right there. You've got somebody who's not like, you know, they're not really storing them well, mm-hmm. right? Or if it's an acoustic and like parts are pulling off of it, bridges are pulling up, and there's cracks because of poor humidity and all this other stuff. Yeah, that's someone who's got too many guitars, or should really maybe not be. Evaluate like what kind of guitars they're keeping if they're not going to store them in a way that protects the value of them. All right. Is there more to add on the are there too many? Can you have too many guitars? You feel no.
I don't think so.
It's not possible. I think it's possible, but generally, I don't think I'll ever hit that point. I think it really comes down to, are you being responsible in how you care for the guitars you have? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, we'll probably get a call from Keith Williams saying this is a. he's built a whole channel on this idea, hasn't he?
Where you get
that
getting more from less gear.
Yeah, or that you want to, you want to use the guitars for making music, which I think you still can. You just have to, spread it around, whatever, That's what I have to keep telling myself. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go on, Matthew. This is your musical musings.
Oh, okay.
Was there more? Was there more here?
No.
And this is a book. I'm not even sure what this book is.
You want to go to a wide?
This is a
show the book?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, you can. Well, actually, you might get a better shot if you put it there. I think it's a little sharper.
Let me go that way. So this is a book by Pete Prown, who's the music editor at Vintage Guitar Magazine.
Oh.
It's called The Ultimate Book of Blues Guitar Legends, the Players and Guitars that
Did
Shaped
you buy
the Music.
this book?
I purchased this book from Amazon. So
Okay,
maybe we can put a link.
I'll put a link in the description for this book here.
I'm
glad you didn't get it from a library, although we encourage people to go to the library.
I
certainly can afford a book, Matthew.
I can afford a book, sure. But I saw it actually because Pete Prown works for Vintage Guitar Magazine, and then I was just looking, and they had a little write-up about it. And I think it's actually nominated for an Association for Recorded Sound Collections, ARSC, in the Historical Sound Research Division for 2025. So I don't know.
So is there an accompanying sort of like CD with this?
No, but that's
is there a website that has like recordings?
It's
just not what you described. There sounds like it's
they're I don't know where they're. I looked up where they're based, but I've never heard of them before. But it's the Association for Recorded Sound Collections.
Okay.
So, I guess they give out awards for various things. But I had bought a book like this in a while. It covers from very early sort of blues legends and players like Robert Johnson, all the way up to current players like Chris Ingram and Gary Clark and everything. Although I noticed it didn't. I was wondering if they were going to cover Kid Anderson.
Oh,
Kid Anderson didn't. I couldn't find him in here. He didn't get a little write up, but it covers.
He has an interesting history with actually recording some of these guys.
Oh yeah.
With his. I forgot the name of it now, but
if people don't know, Kid Anderson is a guitar player with Rick Estrin and the Nightcats.
Yeah, but also a producer.
Big producer in
that genre, blues and.
Where's he based out of? He's in
the Bay Area,
just north, I think, or just south of the Bay Area.
It's Greaseland Studios.
Yeah, but he's
the recordings he produces there are actually quite good.
His house, I believe, is where he does his work. And he'll often say he's busier when he's at home than when he's on the road with Rick Estrin.
When he was here, he actually said that like playing on stage is kind of like relaxing to him.
He gets to
when he's playing that he actually can like mull other things over. That the playing is sort of he can let his mind wander as he plays. But you wouldn't think that listening to him. I mean, he's obviously playing with thought, but that's what I got is that it's sort of a therapeutic, relaxing thing for him to do.
But the book covers about 150 players broken down into styles. It gives a good overview and it's concise. It's not super detailed, but that's not, I don't think, what they were going for. But it's a good introductory and kind of.
So it gives. Is it specifically guitar players? It says blues guitar legends. Does it give information on recordings and? It'll give like key recordings. So I was looking up. Here's Jimi Hendrix. So it's going to give the kind of key recordings and where brief overview of his sort of career, and then certain sections like the Chicago era or the guitar players out of the London blues scene, and then it just breaks everybody down. But it's I'm enjoying it. I haven't finished the whole book, but you'll just pop it open and It's sort of a timeline of the history of electric blues, starting with
all the way, yeah,
acoustic blues.
Even acoustic, yeah, the Piedmont blues area. And I find these books are good because, like, if you've got, like, I've got a Spotify subscription, but sometimes it's hard. Like, where are you going to start with Spotify? Because it has just about everything.
That's a good point.
And you got to. Sometimes you need like an entry. Like, where can I listen to something or another? And then these books will often give a good place to start for a certain artist.
I often go to Spotify and I think like, and then while I'm there, I'm thinking like, what am I going to listen to?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
There's just about everything's there.
So sometimes it's interesting to read something and then you can kind of dive in and educate yourself a little bit. So, but I'd recommend that book, and we can put a link to it as well.
Okay. Well,
and then I have one little piece of news that I thought was interesting. I guess the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction will be in the fall, and going back to last week with news about Brian Wilson dying, this is about one of the members of the studio musicians, Carol Kay. She's announced on her Facebook page, but they said that the post has been since taken down, but she's announced that she's not going to go to the induction ceremony.
Okay.
And but some of her reasoning is
she's alive.
She's alive. She's 90.
Good.
She's 90, but she's no. That's what I thought too. I said, "Oh my gosh, she's departed." But no, she's. So some of her reasons that she gave her kind of interesting. She says, "I'm declining the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's award show because it isn't something that reflects on the work that studio musicians did in the golden era of the 1960s. We were part of a team, not solo artists." And then she goes on to saying, "Just so you know, I was accidentally asked to record records in 1957 and got into recording music with Sam Cooke, another artist, and then accidentally placed on Fender bass in mid-1963 when someone didn't show up for a session."
Yeah, and I knew that guitar was a sort of jazz. She was a jazz guitarist
player,
and kind of unusual at the time.
So she said, "I never played bass in my life, but being an experienced recording guitarist, jazz guitarist, it was easy for me to invent good bass lines." So it's interesting. She's considered. I mean, a lot of people said she's the. Quincy Jones, I think, was on record saying she was the best bass guitar player that he had worked with, and she's on. I think they estimate 10,000 recordings.
Oh my!
So,
but with all that, she considers herself as playing with a group.
Yeah,
because the Wrecking Crew. She's one of the Wrecking Crew.
She didn't like that name.
She didn't like that name. I wonder why.
I
suppose it has a sort of a. It probably sounds less precise than what they actually did. I suppose.
Yeah, she mentioned briefly.
Wrecking Crew sounds like you're like ripping stuff apart, but they made stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where the name came from. If they were like, I think what it was supposed to imply, like, they just maybe they played so well they destroyed or something.
Yeah,
I don't know where.
Yeah, maybe.
But she didn't really like the name. Thought it was sort of insulting. But those people were part of. There's obviously all sorts of documentaries you can watch and.
Yeah, it's interesting too that that group was a mixture of people that were, highly skilled at reading music, and then some that couldn't read music at all. Like I think Glenn Campbell. I was watching a little bit of this last week, and it was Glenn Campbell and two other guys from that group, from the Wrecking Crew, and they were just jamming. And Glenn Campbell and the other two couldn't read music.
Really,
it was giving him kind of a rundown of the musicians in it that were not sight reading.
And it's Teddy Tedesco.
Or no, it's Tony.
Was it Tony?
Tommy Tedesco.
Tommy?
Tommy Tedesco. Yeah, he was renowned for being able to read very well.
But he didn't start playing guitar till very late, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know. The clip I saw was, I think it was Glenn Campbell saying that, I think it was Glenn Campbell saying that he was at a session, and the producer said, "Oh, and do you have a bouzouki you can play for this?" And that they had baffles that would block them. And he said, "Oh, sure." And then he'd bend down and he'd play something that sounded like a bouzouki. And then he said, "Well, maybe mandolin for this is better choice." And then he played something that sounded like a mandolin, and that he was him playing the guitar, same guitar every time.
Yeah, he just how would he use his pick or his fingers, or
where he would be playing, how he would be picking it. Yeah,
yeah. If I'm going to look that up, but if I'm not mistaken, he wanted to do that, and he didn't start playing until into his 20s, early 20s.
Yeah, but remember, this is at a time. The reason, this is time before. What is it called? Pro Tools. So there was a extreme premium on people that could be creative on the fly and do it repeatedly and precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there more there to your musical musings,
nope.
Matthew?
That's it.
All right. So, Matthew, this is a guitar regret portion of the show. You told me about this sad story. And the audience needs to know about it. This is the Fender failure, and now take us back in time to when this happened. This is a story that is from the formative years of you as a guitar player / enthusiast / purchaser, and this is a purchase that you failed to make and instead bought a different
brand
item.
So this goes back for me right to the beginning. This would have been my first electric guitar purchase. Didn't have anything before this.
Yes.
And so it came down. I went. I was living in where my family was in Ontario, and we went into Toronto, my brother and I, and we went to Steve's Music on Queen Street West, and we looked at a Japanese copy of a Les Paul.
So your dream was a Les Paul.
I think in my head I was sort of thinking I liked Jimmy Page and I liked Pete Townsend, and I think I liked you remember when Pete Townsend had those numbered guitars?
Yes, with the extra switches on them.
Yeah, the extra switches, I think. And did he have PAFs? And no, did he put?
They also had mini humbuckers, and I think some sort of humbucker in the middle.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking. He had like an exposed
coil. They had an exposed coil humbucker in the middle. So
I went into Toronto and I saw this guitar, but I think it was mine. One was a Tobacco Sunburst. This is a Cherry Sunburst.
So
this is on Reverb.
This is a Vantage Spirit VLP 550. Do you remember what you paid for this new?
I paid $200 for it.
Brand
Canadian.
new.
Yep.
In 1982.
82, I think it was. Yeah.
And this has a bolt-on neck.
It has a bolt-on neck, and I think it had the little coil split switch on it too.
Oh, really? It was sort of modded from the
factory. Yeah.
$200, and today it's worth $375.
$375.
Now you don't own this any longer.
No, I sold this. I sold this in late 80s.
Now, did you
90s.
told me that your brother may have had some sort of sway on your decision making. You were an impressionable young man, guitar player, and your brother played bass, right?
My brother played bass, yeah. But I have to take ownership of it. I mean, I think I was sort of enamored with the kind of a Les Paul.
Okay.
And maybe those exposed coils, Ace Frehley or something did it to me too.
So since 1982, if you had kept this, you would have made $175, right?
Well, that's Canadian dollar too, so it's probably even less.
Oh, wow. Okay, now
what's a Canadian dollar worth
at the time? You could have had a different guitar, right?
Yeah, so we went to two shops. We went to Steve's Music on Queen Street West, and then we went to, I think it was, maybe if someone's out there remembers, it was either called the Music Shop or it was called the Guitar Shop, but it was in Thornhill, and it was a little small guitar shop, but it was famous because the guys from Rush, Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee would buy stuff there. Oh, okay. And they would sell stuff there too.
So it's possible that this other guitar might have, could have, long shot could have been owned by one of those guys. Or at least maybe picked up in the shop and played.
Possibly.
It's possible.
Possible.
You're not likely he would have picked up a Vantage Spirit LP 550.
No.
Can't believe it's saying that.
Yeah.
This is for $200. Now, this other guitar that we're talking about.
So the other guitar
Was how much?
It was $200 as well.
$200. Used though.
It was used. It was in early 70s. I think it was like about a 72. Don't say what it is.
We'll reveal that.
I think it was a Fender, and I think this is what it was. Yeah. So there's my regret.
You could have gotten this classic vintage 1972 Telecaster Custom
for $200,
which is now $3,995, Matthew. That's the decision, and no one steered you clear of the Vantage.
No, and I wonder now. I didn't ask at the time, but I wonder if it even included a case with it.
Oh, the Vantage. It probably didn't.
The Vantage did not.
Yes.
I had to buy the case.
I bet that had the case with it. My guess is it did.
That if I had asked, probably would have sold me on that, because like I knew the other one didn't. It said right on the tag, no case.
Yeah. It's
your classic going to buy your guitar.
Yeah. The how to squeeze as much money out of the parents as possible.
Yeah.
So I think what it was really about. And that was the case. That was the deal with guitar stores really up until eBay.
Really?
I think, yeah, most of them. I think the first time I didn't really have to deal with that is when I went to Elderly Instruments and they just included a case with it. But I mean, they would separate the guitar from the case, and they'd be like, "Oh, if you want the case, it's $100 or something." You know, if you want the original case, they'd act as if somehow it was an add-on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
When of course it came with the case, they were just trying to upsell you. So if you said like, "How much is a case?" Well, we've got several options, and then of course the first thing they'd show you would be a crappy chipboard case.
Yeah.
And when you'd think, of course, this thing will get destroyed in this case. My precious new guitar. Why would I? And then they say, well, if you want, we've got another one that has this a lining in it. It's a little sturdier, and it would be a nicer case, but still some variation on chipboard. And then they'd say, well, if you want, you can get the Fender case, which has the logo. And of course, you'd look at it and be, yeah, like but that's going to be $100. Yeah. That was the desert we all lived in before eBay and Reverb. People are disdainful of it, but I think that it actually made it easier to get good stuff from retailers. Because people didn't do that stuff anymore at some point because they were competing with online. You think I'm right about that?
Yeah, I think
because this was just standard practice for this stuff, wasn't it?
Well, I still even think today I think most of the stuff you buy at maybe I'm wrong, but most of the stuff used stuff at Guitar Center right now doesn't come with a case. I think it's unusual if it comes with a case.
Oh, the used stuff?
Yeah.
I always get the impression that they just lose the case.
Yeah. You mean lose it like it goes in
I'm trying to think
they
here.
Pitch it.
I don't know. I've gotten a couple of guitars that didn't have the case, but I've gotten some that did. But I'm generally not getting like I think if you were to get a custom shop Fender, like...
Oh, no, that'll have it.
That'll have it.
Yeah.
But if you're getting I guess you're getting a gig bag with something like a Mexican or overseas made Fender. I guess that still holds true. Like the gig bags really weren't a thing. It was just cheap chipboard cases in the 80s. Did you ever remember seeing a really great gig bag? I never did.
No.
Yeah. Even the gig bags now are actually pretty decent, even for a cheap one from Fender. I guess that's reasonable alternative.
I think when PRS upped that game, when their SC bags, they started, those bags are very nice.
Yeah.
They're like, there's a lot of padding and they have some neat features to them, but they were like, that's a pretty nice bag for just at the time they were Korean made guitars.
Yeah.
But going back to that regret, yeah, that's one that I definitely think about.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
You have to learn those lessons.
Matthew.
You have to learn those lessons and ingrain them, and then don't repeat them.
I have some like that, but maybe not quite that bad. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have one that's almost that bad, but that's a different one. Okay, that's it for the show.
Yep.
I think we've established that the Guitar Regret was in fact worthy of that title, and we'll do the outro here, Matthew. Any thoughts for the upcoming episode 8? Again, this is momentous 7, and most podcasts do not live past 7, and this one will.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple ideas.
Okay.
Maybe an anniversary. There is an anniversary coming up this summer for a very important popular song. So I think I might do something.
Okay.
Either
I'm
soon,
curious.
so people can maybe celebrate that appropriately.
All right, we will plan that all out. Stay tuned for that, and thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks very much.